All right, so here we go. This is the WWE PPV Rewind for 2013. I'm actually here with my brother. He's going to help me because, I don't know, I wasn't totally invested in the year as a whole. I've had a tough time staying up for a lot of the Raws, and the pay-per-view quality was pretty average. But I don't know, for some reason, you started watching wrestling again this year. Why was that?
Because I was invested in Daniel Bryan. I was just joking. I was invested in the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk. And I have a newfound respect for John Cena. I love that man. So I'm all about WWE, and I want to see some good things happen for both Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Hey man, I didn't see the whole year, but I saw some stuff that I really liked. So let's get into it.
And why don't you just give me your prediction for WrestleMania? Your little bold prediction.
My little bold, which apparently you think is great, don't you? You call it a little, talking to me like you're Steve Austin there. I think it is going to be a sort of mini tournament involving all four guys: CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, and Randy Orton. And you're going to get Punk versus Orton and Cena versus Bryan, and the winner of those two matches are going to fight each other at the very end of the show.
The problem with that is, what about the winner of the Royal Rumble?
I think that Bryan and Punk are going to eliminate each other. And there's going to be two winners of the Royal Rumble, kind of like Lex Luger and Bret Hart in 1994. And if you look back at WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 20, notice in the main event of those Manias, there were always more than two guys involved. WrestleMania 10, it was Luger, Yoko, and Bret. WrestleMania 20, it was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chris who? Chris who? Some guy named Chris.
Benoit.
I forget his name. So, and here we go. Another 10 years later, it's going to be, I think that there's going to be more than two guys involved in this main event.
Well, really quick, I'll just say I think it's going to be Brock and Orton at WrestleMania for the title. And I think Brock Lesnar wins the belt.
Hey, nothing you can say that is going to take on it down to me. Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. But let's get into the pay-per-view rewind for 2013. The first thing we got to talk about is The Rock. And the big discussion is, was it a good decision or a bad decision to end the amazing title reign that CM Punk was having, how he gave that belt so much prestige and really got the belt up to a level where it was just such an awesome title reign, how we had the belt for, over a year. And then, you have WrestleMania right around the corner, then boom, you give the belt to The Rock. Was that a good decision looking back on it?
Well, to me, I think it's another sign that WWE feels that it's not about the title, that the Rock, the celebrity of a guy is more important than the title itself. And I think they've gone in that direction quite a couple of different times, and But no, they felt like Rock versus Cena for the title would have been more important for the title, so I understand that. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, it's just the title didn't mean anything. Once you took it off of Punk, and once you just gave it to The Rock, people didn't give a fuck about who was the champion. So I think that's what the problem lies there. Didn't McMahon want Ryback to win the title?
He was pushing, according to reports, he was pushing for that at Hell in a Cell.
So it sounds like a bit of a cluster, you know what? I mean, if The Rock is supposed to come back in with 2 months leading up to your biggest show and just win the title off of whoever, it's not the first time they did that. But yeah, no, you're right. It was kind of like it was supposed to be this historic title reign, with CM Punk. But that's WWE. They're going to put the celebrity over the champion. They're going to put celebrity over the title because that's what research is telling them. That's what their fans want to see.
Well, the problem is I was really disappointed because I felt like with The Rock being champion, I felt like he would be more committed. Maybe a longer reign extending after WrestleMania, or he'd be on more of the Raws and just do more stuff with the title. But, his schedule he was pretty much just still a part-timer. So that put a bad taste in my mouth. And at the same time, I wasn't really that impressed with The Rock, with his charisma and his overall in-ring ability was very subpar to me. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, the in-ring stuff was kind of, he was.
I thought him and Punk had no chemistry at the Rumble or at the Elimination Chamber.
He was rusty. I thought the Elimination Chamber match was a little better. I thought they had better flow than what I saw. I thought it was a little better. It was fun to see Punk fight The Rock. I like seeing that. But no, I agree. Not the best. I mean,
well, here's the other problem. Like when Punk cut the famous promo, you know, he mentioned Dwayne. He said, it makes me sick that Dwayne's in the main event of WrestleMania and I'm not. So I felt like if Dwayne and The Rock Johnson and Punk ever got together, you know, this was going to be a shoot-style feud, really going after him, attacking the character in real life, that type of thing. I felt like the WWE really held Punk back, and I felt like the feud never really went anywhere beyond, you know, just, you know, feuding over the title. And I thought the feud was kind of boring, to be honest.
And maybe you're right. It probably was. It probably would have been cool if the CM Punk from 2011 was in that feud with Dwayne Johnson. It would have been a lot more of a shoot style. But CM Punk has kind of grown up a little bit since that promo, and he's not as angry. He doesn't have as much of an edge. Even now, if you look at him on Raw, he seems a lot more comfortable and a lot more relaxed than he used to be.
That's a good way to put it. I just think there was a lot of potential there for greatness. But yeah, so we got, you know, The Rock is the champion. John Cena wins the Rumble. You know, there's a lot of people that were pissed that Cena won the Rumble. What were your thoughts on seeing The Rock and Cena again in the main event of WrestleMania? What do you think of the match, and what did you think of? I mean, did you really care? The problem is a lot of people just didn't want to see it again.
I watched WrestleMania, and I was really excited to watch WrestleMania. It was the first pay-per-view I had watched in a long time. So I really, in my personal life at the time, I needed something to latch onto. So I wanted to get back into pro wrestling like I was when I was in my teenage years, in my early 20s. And I loved the show, but John Cena and The Rock, I had seen it the year before. I think I had seen it on DVD or something.
We saw it live, yeah.
Oh, we did see it live.
Yeah.
Great memory. To be honest with you, it was the same match, just with a different finish, with a different winner.
And you could tell the crowd wasn't as invested.
Nope, the crowd wasn't as invested because they had seen it the year before.
They definitely had the greenest light in the history of WWE. Like when it comes to false finishes.
What does that mean?
Like they were allowed to, like in basketball terms, a green light means you can shoot as much as you want. The coach won't take you out.
Right.
Well, like in WWE, I feel like you have a green light. Like you could do whatever the hell you want. You could kick out of a million rock bottoms, a million FUs, and they kicked out of everything, and still people weren't really invested in it. But you know, to me, I still thought I didn't think it was that bad. I thought by the end of the match they got me. I felt like it was kind of unpredictable. But by the end result, you say, "Oh, this is bullshit." The Rock comes back. You know, The Rock comes back, wins it in Miami, and then, you know, returns the favor the next year. How predictable could that be? So it just, you know, it just came off very stale.
Pretty predictable. You know, they could have done a lot more. They could have gone to the outside of the ring. They could have gotten a little bit
more structure,
more structure, more, I guess, or less structured. You know, I thought it was too, so like they never even went outside of the ring. For what I remember, like there were no tables, there were no chairs. Like I think it would have been a cool way to. I thought when I watched it that they were going to at least tease a Cena heel turn. Especially at WrestleMania, kind of like Austin and McMahon.
Everyone thought it was going to happen. Didn't even really come close.
They could have at least teased it, you know, and they could have had Cena have more of a mean streak. But it didn't do, for me, it didn't do anything for either guy's careers. It didn't do anything for John Cena, to me. He was going to be big no matter what.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still thought the match was somewhat enjoyable. I don't think it's as bad as some people think. See, my problem is people automatically... came to the conclusion that the match was trash just because they didn't want to see it, which is horseshit. Now, I would agree. I thought they rushed into some of the finishers, but I still thought they worked their asses off, and they did try to, you know, create, you know, that unpredictable feeling, because they knew, everyone knew Cena was going to win. I think so. They wanted to create like that aura of unpredictability where you're going back and forth, kicking out a finish, and I thought they did a good job of, you know, creating that, you know, who's going to win the match, you know, type of thing with all the near falls. So I do think they work hard. My problem is people, you know, jump to the conclusion that the match sucked right away just because it's Rock and Cena, which I think is kind of bullshit.
I didn't like the match the year before, and I didn't like the one they had after.
All right, okay.
So that's just where I'm at with it.
All right, I guess different people have different
And
opinions.
false finishes don't make a great match.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of creative things that they did down the stretch of the match. So, I still have it in my top 10, but, it's definitely, it won the match of the year. It won for the Slammy Awards. What do you think of that?
I think that shouldn't count. It was Daniel Bryan.
Actually, I thought it was the best match from that list. But the reason they didn't have Punk and Brock in the list is because Triple H is not allowed to have a better match. Or I'm sorry, Brock is not allowed to have a better match with Punk than he is with Triple H.
Right.
Understand?
I understand. I understand.
All right. As far as also with WrestleMania, what do you think of Brock Lesnar and Triple H? They did a rematch from SummerSlam. Once again, another match that not a lot of people wanted to see.
I remember seeing the SummerSlam match and thinking, it was just kind of big, like a big brawl. And then the one at WrestleMania, that had me on the edge of my seat. I enjoyed the match. I only saw it once, but I have to say...
It was kind of a war, yeah.
It was a war. I mean, and Brock... The thing about Brock is he always gets in there and he beats the shit out of everybody he faces. He really tossed Triple H around, kind of like he did Punk at SummerSlam, 5 or 6 months later. I thought it was a solid match. I was definitely entertained by it. It was a war.
Well, I was disappointed that they would waste another Brock Lesnar pay-per-view on Triple H. You would think, maybe him facing another guy. But, the Brock and Triple H thing was huge. Like, they were supposed to have, like, a match for the Unified Championship at WrestleMania 21. So there was a lot of plans, because, Triple H was the face of Raw, Brock was the face of SmackDown. So, I guess they were just trying to make up for lost time with this thing. I think it could have been a bigger deal, but they just didn't. I think the WWE made a mistake. They should have kept the ear to the street and realized, the fans really didn't want to see the rematches for WrestleMania.
And maybe you're right. Maybe that's a good point, because maybe what you're saying is that there was a lack of freshness. There wasn't anything fresh about the WrestleMania, and you're right about that.
I thought the match between Brock and Triple H was good. The problem was the crowd just didn't give a shit,
Yeah.
They just didn't care.
And I saw it at a Wing City, so I couldn't hear the crowd.
Oh, okay.
The crowd in Wing City in Erie, Pennsylvania loved it. That's all I can say.
I think there was a lot of criticism about how I think Triple H had Brock in like a Fujiwara armbar. No, he had him in the Kimura. And the thing is, if you have someone in the Kimura, you're not going to last for a whole minute. But my defense to that was Triple H had him in it. So Triple H is not really a submission wrestler, so I kind of bought into Brock, not tapping out. So I don't know if you remember that.
I do. Triple H doesn't know what he's doing in the Kimura. I didn't even know it was called the Kimura until 5 seconds ago.
And so most people thought Taker and CM Punk was match of the night. I mean, I would agree.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think it was great. I thought that they didn't have great chemistry, but they made up for the lack of chemistry with some interesting things, interesting facial expressions, like the Tombstone kick out, the Anaconda Vice spot. So definitely.
It's always fun to watch those matches with the Undertaker. The older he gets, the better he looks in that Undertaker character. He's the Clint Eastwood of the WWE. The older he gets, the more intimidating he is. That's what's amazing about that character. And CM Punk and Undertaker put on a great match. Don't compare to the Shawn Michaels matches, especially the WrestleMania 25 match, because then you won't enjoy it. But if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth your time. It was the best match of the night. CM Punk, Undertaker.
All right, so the next part of the video, I just want to focus on the world title, the SmackDown title. It seems like this, the last couple years, like the title just didn't mean as much. I mean, who do you really blame for that? I think it goes back to having Sheamus squash Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, having the world title open up WrestleMania. The winner of the Royal Rumble faces, the world champion. It doesn't really mean that much. I mean, what wrestlers would you blame for making the world title, or would you blame it on creative for making that world title just not seem as important?
I think it's hard to make both titles seem important. I think it goes, if you go all the way back to the Invasion back in 2001, when there was a WWE title and a world title, the world title came in not looking so great. Triple H was able to build it up when he was with Evolution for a little while. Say what you want about Triple H, and then Chris Benoit won it, and then Randy Orton won it, and all these other different people won the title. And at one point, sometimes the world title was more important than WWE title. But in the past year, I think the world title has been treated like it was the Intercontinental title.
Past 3 years,
of old, for a while. Yeah, I mean,
ever since ever since Sheamus had it. I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
Like Sheamus, Del Rio, Christian, Swagger. I don't know. I don't even know if you want to put Swagger's name in there, but that core, just they WWE never felt, especially with Del Rio, they just never felt like they kind of relegated him to that other title. Like I think at first they wanted him on Raw, but I think they felt like he wasn't cutting it, so they just send him over to SmackDown and have him just be a mid-card champion. So I would blame most of it on Del Rio. Just like lack of faith in Del Rio, not pushing Del Rio hard enough, and it just resulted in a lot of mid-card, title matches.
Which is a shame because I think Del Rio is a fantastic wrestler and an amazing heel. I love him.
He's a great wrestler.
I think his wrestling is top notch, but he's not.
It's just I think the problem with Del Rio is, like I said in the past, he's struggling between a heel and a face. You can't take him serious enough as a heel, and he's just not likable enough to be a face.
It's funny because, pro wrestling doesn't always relate to real life, but in this way it sort of does. When someone gives you a title, kind of like, if you're at a job and someone's giving you a title, the organization has to see you as valuable. And if you're given the world title, this was Ric Flair's title, this was Dusty Rhodes' title, but you're not put in a spot where other people can look at it and say, oh, this is a valuable spot, then, this is a valuable title. It's not just a second-rate title. If people can't see beyond that, then they're not going to see you as a worthy champion, or they're not going to see the world title matches as being worthwhile for watching. And I think that's it's been a problem for, like you said, the past few years. The WWE title is in the main event at pay-per-views, but then the world title is almost never in the main event for pay-per-views.
And we're near the main event.
So how the hell can we see it as being as valuable as the WWE title? And so, John, so that's it.
I'm glad they unified it. We could talk more about that later, but the idea of having Swagger in the main of, challenge Del Rio at WrestleMania, I thought that was a big mistake. I felt like you could have went with, Jericho and Orton. You could have done a lot of other matches for that title that would have felt bigger. The way they treated that Swagger Del Rio match, it felt like a mid-card, television Raw match at WrestleMania, and that was one thing that brought the show down for me. Just the way they handled that whole world title match. But so let's move on. Just want to ask you a question. What do you think of like this whole era right now? It seems like we're transitioning into Triple H's, what's best for business era, where he's kind of more lenient now at bringing guys back from the past because it's best for business, whether it be Jericho, Van Dam, or Brock Lesnar or The Rock. Like, what do you think of this whole era where you're bringing in these big names and they're taking over the big spots at the bigger shows of the year? You think it's good, or you think they should kind of get away from that?
I think WWE is kind of looking at themselves kind of like, no matter, what time or what year it was, we could bring back a star and we can promote them. Even if The Rock's not on TV, we can still promote him. Even if The Undertaker's not on TV, we can still promote him. They can promote guys who aren't even alive at this point. They've been around so long. They're really the only game in town. They really are. As far as TV, pay-per-views are concerned, TNA doesn't stand a chance. Ring of Honor, it sounds like they don't stand a chance. And WWE has separated itself from their competition completely. They're really, in pro wrestling, their competition now, WWE, they're competing with other forms of entertainment outside of sports and outside of pro wrestling. They're not competing with other pro wrestling companies anymore. So yeah, they can bring back Brock, or they can bring back The Rock. They can someday they might even bring back Hulk Hogan again, because He's just part of the WWE. Everyone who's ever been in WWE is part of that signature. They're part of that WWE logo, so they can bring that stuff back anytime they want and make money and get a bigger buy rate with it. So I think it's the era itself is, I have mixed feelings about it. I like it. I mean, for crying out loud, this year, look, Daniel Bryan, you can't be in a better spot if you're a face to have one of the greatest heels of all time, Triple H. He's one of the greatest heels because everybody hates him. So many people hate that guy. To have Triple H screw Daniel Bryan out of the title the way he's done it, who would have thought that Bryan Danielson, American Dragon, Mr. I have till 5, indie star, was going to be on top of the WWE, and he's right there. He's so close to being on top of professional wrestling. I think it's awesome. I love it. I love CM Punk. I think CM Punk is amazing. I respect the hell out of John Cena. I actually think John Cena's become one of my favorite wrestlers of all time now because of some of the matches he's put on lately. So to be completely honest with you, for the most part, I say thumbs up to this era, the PG era.
All right, so so Daniel Bryan got the big title shot at SummerSlam. SummerSlam was an awesome show. So he beat Cena at SummerSlam, and then the whole feud with Randy Orton started, where Triple H and Stephanie would kind of conspirize to make sure that he wouldn't be the face of the company, and then Big Show got involved, and then Shawn Michaels got involved at the Hell in a Cell. They had the referees screwing Bryan as well. I mean, a lot of people really hated the Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton feud. They thought Daniel Bryan was getting squashed too much leading up to the pay-per-views, to the point where you just really didn't give a shit what was going to happen at the pay-per-view. I mean, looking back on it, what do you think of the Daniel Bryan Randy Orton feud? Do you think it lived up to its potential, or you think what do you think?
It got off to a great start at SummerSlam. What happened at SummerSlam, made my heart sink. I didn't expect Daniel Bryan to beat Cena. And I didn't expect, Triple H and Orton to screw Bryan like that. I thought it was amazing. I thought it got off to a great start. That was such a fresh moment to me. I thought it was so fresh. I thought it was friggin' cool. I hated it because I wanted Bryan to be champion, but at the same time, I thought it was great. They really, they put one over on me. But it got off to a great start, and it sunk slowly, very fast after that. The pay-per-view matches were always disappointing between Bryan and Orton. Those matches,
they were disappointing, but you know what? Did they serve a purpose though, to make Daniel Bryan more making the fans connect more with Daniel Bryan in the long run? Or
I don't know.
Because I think the thing that was frustrating about it is, why are you going to keep paying for these pay-per-views to see him win the belt if they're just going to take it off of him?
Well, I think that was the idea, was to make you hate Triple H and Orton even more, and to love Bryan all the more, and really, because they're just trying to screw him over and over again. As a babyface, you can't ask for anything better in the WWE. In my opinion, if you're the type of babyface that Daniel Bryan is right now, no, the matches were not great. I thought their Hell in a Cell match was the best out of the 3. But just getting Shawn Michaels involved the way he was, it was like all these really good ideas, but they were just poorly executed. It didn't make sense for Michaels to screw Bryan like that. Still doesn't make sense. If you go back and watch it, Shawn Michaels was having this, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. All right, I'll kick him. It just doesn't, it was stupid. But the Big Show, we all know that was it was a great idea. It should have been a great feud, but it was poorly executed. And let me just say quick, one of the reasons why it doesn't work is because we didn't hate Orton. We hated Triple H.
Right. And
if we got Bryan versus Triple H at one of those pay-per-views, it would have been a lot more like, holy crap, I really want to see this. But... And my friend Ryan back in Jamestown, New York, he made a really good point. He said, Triple H is the one we hate, not Randy Orton.
Right.
So, ordering the pay-per-view, we're not really going to get to see what we want to see, which is really more Bryan versus Triple H.
I got you. But I I think there was a lot of creative things involved. Like, I like the fact how the referee, he helped Bryan win just so they could take it off of Bryan.
Right.
You know, with the fast count. But obviously that guy was working for Triple H. I thought that was kind of genius booking. But they didn't really follow up on it.
No, you're right. They didn't follow up on that. They could have had him, you know, be part of their, you know, do something with it on Raw. You know, but once again, good idea. But at the same time, if you ordered that pay-per-view, you felt like, I just felt dumb. I felt dumb because I ordered the pay-per-view and I watched it next night on Raw, and I just remember just feeling dumb, like that. Well,
yeah, you probably felt even dumber for ordering the one when Big Show interfered.
Well, I felt that was really bad, but that one, even that one, because when Bryan won that first match, it was Night of Champions. Right?
Night of Champions.
I remember thinking to myself, something was really strange about that last count, and then just walking away from my TV like, I don't even know, should I be excited? Because, you know, my favorite wrestler just won the title, I should feel excited, but I don't. You know, that's how I felt. And I don't know. It was new. It was different. You know, they took it was kind of a ballsy thing to do on their part. So I give them credit. But
that's always from September to like November. That's how WWE pay-per-views work. Like they just want you to get you to tune into Raw, you know.
Right. And the Raws have been really good. I never complain about Raw.
The television matches on Raw were a lot better this year than they were last year. I mean, the Shield, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk,
great.
All those, you know, Cody Rhodes and Goldust have had a lot of great Raw matches this year. The Raw matches were better than the pay-per-view matches, probably.
The Wyatts are a really unique group that I think are very fun to watch, very refreshing.
Yeah.
Because they're not athletic, but they're still good pro wrestlers, though.
So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. I'm glad they unified the belts. Randy Orton's the champion. We'll see what happens. Now, let's... I'm going to count down the top 10 matches of the year. Actually, before we get into it, what was your match of the year?
My match of the year, I would have to... Well, that's a tough one. I've only seen it one time, but I gotta be honest with you, you know, and I haven't seen all these matches. I would say Cena versus Daniel Bryan
from SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
All right, cool.
That match really was great. Yeah, great match.
All right, so and pay-per-view of the year, SummerSlam, without a doubt, by far.
SummerSlam.
I don't think anything else even comes close. All right, so really quick, I'll just give you my personal top 10 matches of the year. If you want to add anything to them, you can. Number 10, I have Del Rio versus Ziggler from Payback. That's when Del Rio like turned and took the title. You know, I think Ziggler got a concussion during that match.
I think I saw that.
And yeah, so number 9, the world title Money in the Bank ladder match. That's when Damien Sandow won. He basically turns on Cody Rhodes and then he takes the Money in the Bank briefcase. That was really innovative. Remember, Antonio Cesaro did a lot of awesome stuff in that ladder match. Number 8, I actually have The Rock versus John Cena from WrestleMania. Number 7, the Elimination Chamber, when Swagger shocked everyone and won the Elimination Chamber. Remember they had like Remember they had like Jericho and Orton were going at it, so we thought it was going to come down to them, and then Swagger just pulled up the upset.
It never comes down to Jericho, and no.
All right, number 6, I have Brock versus Triple H from WrestleMania. Number 5, I have the WWE title Money in the Bank. This is when Rob Van Dam made his triumphant return. You should check this match out because RVD got a great reaction when he came back. And I thought that was a great way just to utilize him because he didn't have to do too much, you know. And Randy Orton won it. You know, remember that's when Heyman screwed Punk out of the title. Or Punk out of the briefcase.
That's right.
Number 4, I have Punk versus Taker from WrestleMania. Number 3, Daniel Bryan versus John Cena from SummerSlam. Number 2, probably the most underrated, is Punk versus Jericho from Payback.
Great match. Once again, just like their WrestleMania match at 28.
I think it was their best match.
Their matches start off slow, and you're not really sure where they're going, but then in the middle, they start to really pick up, and at the end, it's a quite good match. Very good.
Yeah, once again, Jericho doesn't get the respect he deserves. This should have been nominated, and once again wasn't nominated. They didn't even put it on that bullshit compilation that they released.
If he was the guy back in the day, we'd all be working for Ted Turner right now.
Jesus, Jericho always gets screwed, man. I don't understand it.
And what's number 1?
Brock versus Punk from SummerSlam.
Actually, I have to say, I don't know.
You could see why, yeah. You have to watch it again.
That was a great.
I think the thing that was cool about the Paul Heyman X Factor, this is a matchup that was really refreshing. I think that's what WWE is lacking this year, like refreshing matchups on the pay-per-views. But this is, I think the feud could have been better. I would have liked to see Punk and Brock, go at it. You pretty much have Paul Heyman kind of directing the whole feud, which was cool, but I just think, I would just like Brock to talk a little bit more, because I think he can talk if the situation calls for it. But, maybe he feels uncomfortable or whatever, but I don't know. I just thought the story and just, it's in the match as well. They did a lot of stuff with MMA. They both have MMA backgrounds. I thought the counters to the F5 were really awesome. It was just definitely the match of the year for me. I think maybe the one part that hurt it was Heyman, maybe a little bit too much interference from Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
But I can see why they did. They want to keep Punk looking strong, so Lesnar doesn't totally
change my pick. That might actually, I agree.
Yeah, we have to see that again. But for me, that was it. I think most people agree Brock and Punk.
And the other thing I wanted to say is about this year's Paul Heyman and CM Punk, their feud, especially after Brock Lesnar wasn't involved.
When Brock wasn't involved, yeah.
It was so hard to believe. Like, we know that Punk and Heyman love each other.
Why would he be with Ryback? Yeah.
Especially trying to get Ryback.
And Curtis Axel.
Like, it's just not believable. I don't care how many times. If it was the Attitude Era and Punk could do whatever the hell he wanted with Heyman, maybe. But, in this PG era, it's just not believable. We know you guys love each other. So that feud just didn't work for me. But I still loved it.
But it still worked when Brock was there,
When Brock was there. Because Brock would beat the crap out of CM Punk.
And you...
I'm sorry, I just have to sing this song again.
Yeah, it's just... you can't have... The great thing about it was you can't... even though Heyman loves both of them, you can't endorse Punk being the best in the world if Brock is still there. So it just... it just made for a believable feud.
Yeah. And
there's no fucking way you're gonna have Punk endorse Ryback over Punk. Or Heyman endorse Ryback over Punk. That just was not gonna work.
And Ryback, for those of you out there WWE fans, Ryback I'm not even scared of Ryback. I don't know what happened along the way, but he does not scare me. He's like the biggest guy out there. He doesn't scare me. There's something, well, he's not bigger than Mark Henry. Mark Henry scares me, but Ryback does not scare me. There's something wrong with that. You got to fix that. If Ryback, he needs to go back into developmental, because he doesn't scare me. He doesn't do anything in that ring that is perceived as a threat, as a heel, and that's a problem.
All right, so obviously, we'll pick. Usually when we pick MVPs, who's the MVP, the wrestler of the year for the WWE. Obviously, it's going to come down to Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, maybe even the Shield. You could toss them in there. But if I'm looking at the pay-per-view matches, Punk definitely had the best year on pay-per-view. Punk versus Taker, Punk versus Jericho, Brock versus Punk, even Punk versus The Rock, if you want to throw some of them in there. But I think overall, if you look at the Raw matches, you might have to go with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan had a lot of great matches on Raw. Remember the matches with Antonio Cesaro? I think he had a great match with Seth Rollins. Even the tag matches with Daniel Bryan and Kane versus The Shield. There's a lot of those. Daniel Bryan faces The Shield in a lot of matches. So
it's like friggin' Ring of Honor on Monday Night Raw.
Think about it. This is the best year anyone's had on Raw as far as in the ring goes, probably since Benoit in 2004.
It's a bad omen. It's a horrible omen. Please, no more Benoits. Jesus frickin' Christ. Da 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 da.